Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Top Gun Maverick, starring Tom Cruise, Jennifer Connelly, Ed Harris, Val Kilmer, and Miles Teller. Now, when it comes to the classic 80s films that get your blood pumping and happen to have tons of iconic lines, music, and some absolutely great performances, Top Gun is considered one of the best of its kind. So, a sequel made in 2022, though technically filmed before 2020, before being delayed for 2 years, feels like it's a film that really shouldn't work. Yet it works brilliantly. Not only upping the visuals and upping the effects for the new era, but also happening to continue Maverick's story in a way that feels actually very effective. You could call it the Megalobox Season 2 Nomad of flying movies, but let's get to the story, shall we? Maverick, once again played by Tom Cruise, is brought in to help a bunch of pilots on a seemingly impossible mission. It's very much like the trench run in Star Wars, only they don't have a Millennium Falcon. They basically have to go across a huge canyon and bomb a nuclear power plant full of uranium, which happens to be in a country that is never specified. But one of the pilots that Tom Cruise has to teach is the son of Goose, named Rooster, played by Miles Teller. And when it comes to him and his various friends and rivals at the pilot school, it turns out that Maverick has some unfinished business of his own to deal with, not only his former friends and even a former lover, but he might have to go into a dangerous mission one more time. But that's all I'll say about the story. The story here happens to do the same thing the first film did when it comes to its basic structure. You've got a ton of pilots bonding with each other, you've got some fun games at the beach, you've got some romantic moments, and you've even got a very sad death in there. But I won't reveal who dies. But it happens to use those elements not only for the sake of nostalgia, but it also happens to do them to showcase a new story where Maverick has to move on from certain things in the past as much as Miles Teller's Rooster does, and he has to find a new way around things to prove to everyone that he's still got it, even when they dismiss him as an old man who needs an ego check. Because Maverick is pretty much the same character as he was back in the 80s, down to his need for speed and his refusal to follow the rules. But he's literally the best of his kind, so it actually does make sense as to why he hasn't changed in his personality throughout this entire time. On top of that, Jennifer Connelly, who plays his new love interest, happens to actually be very likable. She happens to have her own sassy nature about her. She owns a bar, she has a daughter that she takes sailing, and her romantic moments with Cruz actually happen to work very well. To the point where I actually think that she could have appeared in the first Top Gun, and I would have liked that as well, where she was only mentioned in the first Top Gun. But the biggest surprise to me was easily Miles Teller as Rooster. Now, granted, there was a previous review where I did state that Miles Teller shouldn't be in movies, but I want to scratch that right now, because after seeing this in Whiplash, I regret ever saying that. With a good script and with a good director, it's clear that Miles Teller can put on some absolutely brilliant performances, and this is one of them. He looks and feels exactly like the son of Goose should, and his interactions with the rest of the pilots all feel just right. And when you combine that with effects that make it feel like you're actually there on those jet runs, a solid resolutions for almost all the characters involved, and some nostalgia that happens to work brilliantly without sacrificing anything in the story, you've got yourself one of the best films of 2022. And that's why I'm going to give Top Gun Maverick a 9.5 out of 10. It's a highway to the danger zone, but that danger zone is just right. See you next time.